Okay, we're going to do a quick video today about making the stands that I use for trapping muskrats in the water, but you could also use them for trapping coon or mink, anything where you're going to trail set with a conibear. They're really quick to put in, they're durable, you can make them however you want. I'm going to use rebar today, which is cast, so it's a little cheaper than buying regular mild steel bar, or it's a little bit cheaper. I usually just pick up the stuff at Lowe's. I'm sure you can get it at Home Depot. You get it anywhere that supplies steel for fabrication, you're going to be able to buy it. But it's easiest to get it, like I said, Lowe's or Home Depot. Either one of those places would have it. Or Tractor Supply, somewhere like that. You're only going to need three things. You're going to need 1/2 inch rebar, 5/6 inch rebar. I buy it in lengths and then cut it to the length that I want it, because you can change the length of the rod on the mount for the trap depending on how deep a water that you're going to trap in. So you can have them from short for real shallow water to medium for medium depth water, long for deeper water. That way you don't have to reach down into the water to get it. You can just grab the bar and pull it out. It also marks the set for where you don't forget where you have it. It would also work if you're going to set it. It's not legal for me here to set large conibear traps on dry land. I can only set them in waterways. But other guys where it is legal for you to set 220s or 160s on dry land, or well, I don't know if there's a lot of states where you can set 330s. More you're hunting or trapping up in Canada, real remote areas, you could use them. But you can drive the stake. It's heavy enough that you can hammer it into dry dirt and put it on a trail as well. It would also do that. I've made a couple different types, but these seem to be pretty economical, and you can pack them in a bucket or a basket if you're going to bring them in. It's pretty simple. You do need a welder, or you need to know somebody with a welder who can weld it up. It's not that hard to make, and it doesn't take that long. I'll have the welder outside, and we'll go outside and we'll set it up. Okay, this is going to be our finished product. See it if it's easier against the weight. There you have your main rebar stake. This is going to be your lateral stake, and then this is a conibear keeper that I have welded on here. Just a regular conibear keeper. You can see it can mount it a couple of different ways. So that's going to actually hold the trap, and then you put the spring down on over this. If you're running a double spring trap, you put one spring on this and one spring on the other side. But the idea of it is you would drive that stake down into the bottom of your trail, or the bottom of the pond, or the bottom of the stream, wherever you're going to trap. So your trap is laying right on the bottom of the water. At the bottom of the pond, like I said, the muskrat or mink is going to follow right along the bottom. So it'd be good for a bottom edge set. You could set it this way, so that if you're setting against a bridge wall or a bank, that the bank would come up this way, so the trap is between the bank and the steel pole here, so it's going to force them to travel through that spot. You can also use it, like I said, in a grass trail if it's legal for you to set conibears on land. You'd have to check your regulations for that, but you could put this right down in the dirt and leave it in a game trail, or you can use it underwater. I use these a lot for muskrat trapping, and I've incidentally caught mink in them too. Of course, the mink goes into the ground, or into the burrows for to hunt the muskrat, so you can pick those up too. You can make it the size of it depending on what traps you're going to use. Now this will fit two sizes. It will fit a 2 or 3 actually. It'll fit a 220, it'll fit a 160, and it'll fit a 110. All three of them will fit where I have that bracket, and I'll show you how to set it up. Okay, I have my trap here. This is a 110 single spring, of course. So you have your set. So you're going to run your stake through, clamp your trap in, set your trigger up. Like so. So now I can have it as close or as far out as I want. Of course, ideally, if I would set this up, I would set it that the trap is right next to the... I actually have these clamped down so there's no movement in the trap. So it's not going to move once you set it in there. This is the way you want it. So it's right next to it like that. Then you can set your spring on the bottom. And what I do with the tag is sometimes I'll weld a spur in this, but a lot of times I'll just put the the ring in on the bottom of it and then stake that down to the ground. This is a killer trap, so usually they don't go real far, especially muskrat or mink. He's done for once he gets in there. If you have it set underwater, you really wouldn't have to worry about coon. It's a little bit, that trap is a little bit too small for an otter or something like that to get into, but this is intended for mink or muskrat in the trail. But then you can use it, like when I set my muskrat traps, I'm setting on edge, usually weed edge, or they'll have grooves worn in the bottom of the pond where they're traveling along that, you know, that particular groove. I will run that in so it fits right in that spot. But that's how it's going to set. Now, like I said, if you're using a 120, the other spring is going to sit off on this side. But you see it how I have it offset. It's not right in the center of the trap. You see the bottom plate. You always want your trap right on the edge. That way he doesn't want to travel past that or past the spring. He wants to go through that trap. But it will also fit. So let that off. This is a 160 double spring, so you can see I'm not going to set this one because I don't want to catch my fingers in it. It's a little cold outside, a little bit painful for that. You can see if I set it, I'll show you how square the trap is. This of course is a double spring, so you would have one spring on each side, but you can see that would also fit that perfectly well. You can see it on the white background there if I hold it away from my black shirt, but that, you know, it would fit that also, and it will fit a 220 one up from this too. That the same conibear keeper will hold that as well. So it's quite versatile. It's pretty light, pretty easy to pack, and it's dead steady. Once you have that conibear on, the keeper on the bottom of it, it does not move once you have that trap set in there, because you have the spring wrapped around the pole too, and that's giving it stabilization as well. If you're using the double spring trap, the other spring is also giving it stabilization. If you run into a spot where it's a particular funnel, if the bar, you can change the length of the bar. You can shorten. This is a little bit long, so you can actually shorten it off, and it will fit in very tight areas. Areas just the width of the trap, which is what you want. You want to funnel them down to go right through your trap, of course. But let's get to it and show you how to make it. Okay, I'm going to do this outside. We're losing light. I'm going to do this outside because I'm using flux core welder, and it's really smoky, so I don't want to weld it inside. There's a lot of fumes come off of it. This is the setup we're going to use here. Here is our blank steel, and I have a fabrication magnet there which is going to hold it at a perfect right angle for me. So all I need to do is, you can determine how hard or how soft the ground that you're going to use them in. Usually where I trap, the ground is pretty hard. Even the bottom of the ponds, once you get past the silt layer, it's pretty hard. So 5 to 6 inches is plenty enough spike. There's a little, I might leave it a little more if I'm going to set it on softer dry land. If I'm using it in a dry land set, it might be a little bit more would be good. But like I said, it's a killer trap, so usually the animal that gets caught in it is going to expire pretty quick, and he won't go too far. And you don't usually have to worry about them pulling them out of the ground. What we're going to do is I used a wire wheel with this. You can use a hand wire wheel too. You don't need an electric one. It's just a regular wire wheel to grind off the mill scale off the steel, so it's clean when you weld it. It'll give you a better weld. Although flux core, it will weld over rust. It'll weld over paint. As long as it can get around, it will weld. But the weld will last better for you if you clean it. It'll be much better. Now all we're going to do is we're going to tack it first, top and bottom, and then we're going to complete the weld on it. Tack there. Oh, made that. Get the ground back on there. I'll tack this side. take the magnet away, and we're going to finish our weld. Don't need the magnet now, it's stuck on there, so. Around. There we go. That was one of what's going to be hot. There it is, welded on, so it's not going to go no place. It's pretty solid now. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to position the conibear keeper on there, and we're going to weld that on. Okay, now as you can see, I have the conibear keeper clamped on here with a little vice grip. Make sure it's pretty straight. Also make sure, check your dimensions here to make sure that it's going to fit the trap you intend to use it with. You don't want to weld it on where it's going to be too far away. So now we're going to spot weld that on. Use my magnet to hold it up. Just usually a couple of tack welds is enough to hold this. There. We'll go with another one on the outside edge. Try to show you the camera. Right there. Now I can take my clamp off, it's not going to move. We'll go one on the outside edge. Right there, and that's it. Pretty simple. Take our ground clamp off, and there you have it, finished product. Now this of course is raw. You would want to paint it, wire brush it off, get all the excess slag and stuff, anything on, because especially if you're flux core welding, you'll get a little, a couple of BBs on it, but not much. It's really not that bad. A little bit of a sweeper with wire brushing, it'd be good to go. But that's it. All you got to do now is paint it. Okay, so there you go. There's our finished product, trap loaded. And like I said, where I have it positioned here, where I had the keeper positioned, you can use bigger traps on it, 160s, 220s, for coon or for otter if you're setting in otter runs. For a 330, I might want to make an H. You can use the same type of stand, but I would want it supported on both sides because a beaver's a big, powerful animal. And he might push this one stake aside, and it might push the trap over instead of setting it off. But for smaller animals, this is, one is perfectly adequate. But you can see it has plenty of support with the spring, and then the base is supported by the conibear keeper, and it will also sit on the bottom here with the spring. If you had the spring, you can also, if you're setting it against something tight, you can pull the spring up all the way, so it's like that. If you're, there's lots of ways you can set it, but it works really good. You check my muskrat videos, you'll see that I've had a lot of success with this, and it's pretty easy to make. You've seen it in less than 5 minutes. All you need is like I said, if you have access to a welder, it's great. Or you can take it to a shop and have somebody weld it. It's not going to be very expensive for them to do that. Cut it up with a saw. You buy the rebar in lengths, cut it up with a saw, and you just spot weld it together. It's pretty cheap to make a whole bunch of them, and they pack easy. You can carry a lot of them. And like I said, if you paint it or you can dye it, If you want to rust it and dye it, you can do that, or you can just, I usually just paint them flat black. And if they get a little bit rusty, you just clean them off with a wire brush and spray them up again. They're good to go. But I hope this helps some of you guys out. Give them a try. They do work pretty good. Alright, thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one.